Does everybody know that the media is bad for us and the video games inspire violence? Unfortunately, I think I may have missed that memo. Many who observe these negative connotations of the media use blanketing and extremism in drawing such conclusions. For example, John Murray's study, as mentioned in Lecture 2 by Stephen Harrington, has become an accepted scientific premise among several of these media skeptics. It used a selected focus group of children and a specific film to prove that all media impacts negatively on all children. Whilst it may have found some relationship between children viewing violent imagery and mentally reacting to it, there has to be some doubt formed as to what exactly their mental reactions were and how violently it affected them. In Lecture 4, Stephen Harrington brushed upon a myth that alluded to the fact that video games may act as some sort of training advice. The myth involved that if a person played as a sniper in a video game, they were likely to know how to actually be a trained killer. By the same thought, it is suggested that any video game involving a real-life training scenario could thus give you the necessary skills to perform the task in everyday life. From personal experience, I can assure you that this is not the case. I have played many of the Need for Speed franchise games as an expert manual driver. However, if you today were to place me behind a manual car, I'd be lost for any form of talent whatsoever. The problem with many of these studies and views are, as mentioned in Lecture 2, most of them start with a pre-assumed cause, and then work backwards to prove them. Issues no longer seem to be taken at face value, but blame must lie somewhere. So in the 21st century, this resident evil has taken up form as media, most namely video games. Very rarely are all forms of media, such as books, long-standing newspapers, and religious manuscripts, put under scrutiny by society. Sweepingly, people fear what they cannot understand, nor what they cannot control. Thus, it could be argued that many of these people who believe video games encourage violence do not play video games themselves, and are therefore undereducated as to what video games actually entail. It was only 50 years ago that, according to Frederick Wertham in The Seduction of the Innocent, comic books essentially encourage crime, self-harming, and a life of Nazi-loving homosexuality. Now, in today's society, the majority of us, having read comic books at some point, would realise Wertham's view to be nothing more than outrageous ramblings. So, it could be proposed, in 50 years down the track from now, society may look back on today's views and see them as nothing more than a moral panic. The final correlation between the idea of video games encouraging violence and reality is the social view that video gamers are stereotypically impressionable adolescent boys. However, research conducted in Brand's Digital Australia 2012 highlights that today, the average gamer is 32 years old, and 75% of gamers are over the age of 18. And furthermore, 47% of gamers are actually female. So after observing Gauntlet's effects model and the regular media impressions, it can be drawn that many of the arguments made in the case of the media being bad for society could easily be applied to many other social outlets. So personally, I'm not too sure there is all that much wrong with the media and it's truly that bad for society. I have a feeling that if society took a step back and had a look in the mirror, they'd maybe think twice before throwing the first stone.